So good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the presentation of Parent and Family Engagement in Reading, doing it early, effectively, and easily. This is going to be a fairly informal presentation. There's actually two parts to this presentation. The first part, we're going to be discussing why parent engagement in reading is important, and how you can overcome the impediments to successful implementation in your schools. And in the second part, wrong part. In the second part, we'll be discussing specific techniques that will help make family engagement in reading fun, easy, and effective. And assuming we have time, we'll also be doing a couple of reading activities to help demonstrate some of these techniques. So first, an overview on part one. I'm going to talk briefly about why and how. I'm going to cover some of the benefits of family engagement in reading and its cost effectiveness. And I'm also going to cover some of the primary impediments to getting parents engaged and how to overcome those impediments and get parents involved. So, I'm not going to spend a lot of time on the research, but just to touch on it, what does the research have to say about parent involvement in reading? Does it really help? Here's one quote based on the available research. When schools encourage children to practice reading at home with parents, the children make significant gains in reading achievement compared to those who only practice at school. But does it really help? Here's another quote. This is actually from 29 studies of school parent programs. Family participation in education was twice as predictive of students' academic success as family socioeconomic status. So parent and family engagement can really help. But our school has limited funds. Is it cost effective? Well, the only cost is materials and support from the educators. Parents are providing their time and attention to their child's reading at no cost to the school and school district. So let's see if any of this sounds familiar in terms of impediments. Well, that may be all well and good, and really, I'd love to get the parents at my school or district involved more in reading. And okay, I'll even accept that these parents would really like to see their children succeed in reading. But first of all, our parents don't know what to do or how to help. Plus, we can't expect our parents to be teachers, and frankly, they don't want to be teachers. Plus, our parents have a lot of demands on their time. They have a lot of other priorities, and they aren't really motivated to take the time to help. Working with a reluctant or struggling reader can be a really frustrating experience and a big struggle both for the child and for the parent. So those are a lot of really big impediments to be able to overcome. So how do we overcome those impediments? So first, we need to communicate the benefits to the parents. They need to understand why they need to do this. Second of all, we need to make it an enjoyable experience, both for the parents and for the children. We may need to make it easy for parents to understand what to do, and we need to make it easy for them to do. And, if necessary, we need to be prepared to provide bilingual materials. So that's a basic overview. Now, what I'm going to do in the second part is I'm going to talk about some very specific techniques and practices that you can do in your classrooms, in your schools, and in your districts to get parents involved. Now, this part of the presentation is written as though I am presenting to parents. And this entire PowerPoint is available to you to download, and you're free to use any part of it in presentations that you may make to parents at your schools. So for now, I would ask all of you to pretend that you're a parent listening to this presentation. And pretend that you have a child who's either just entering kindergarten, or perhaps you have a second grader who's really struggling with reading. So in this section, I'm going to talk about 4 simple things that you can do to help your child in reading. I'm going to talk about reading to your child. I'm going to talk about some fun activities you can do to hear the individual sounds and spoken words, or as you may know it, as phonemic awareness. I'm going to talk about games to support phonics skills. And I'm going to talk about reading with your child. So, first of all, let's talk about the benefits of reading to your child. First of all, it develops listening and language skills. Furthermore, it'll help your child increase their attention span. It'll stimulate their imagination and help develop curiosity and creativity. It'll expand their vocabulary, develop an understanding of the printed word, and spark their interest in books, stories, and reading. So let's talk about the benefits of reading to your child. Here's one quote. Research has shown again and again how much reading to your child will help. Here's one quote. Children whose parents read to them tend to become better readers and perform better in school. And another quote. Children who are read to from an early age are more successful at learning to read. So when is the best time to begin reading to your child? First, starting from infancy and on. But it's never too late to start. It's great to read at least once a day, 20 to 30 minutes if you can, and at a regularly scheduled time. And if you have to skip a day once in a while, don't worry. So here's some best practices. How to read to your child. First, sit in a comfortable, well-lit place. Hold the book so your child can easily see the pictures and the words. Before reading, look at the picture and the title on the cover and discuss what the book might be about. And read with expression to make the story come alive for your child. After you finish reading the book, you can do some other activities to help. You can have a short discussion about the story. You can ask open-ended questions about the story or the subject of the book. Help your child make connections to her world. For example, do you remember a time when something like that happened to you? And, of course, be willing to read the same book multiple times. Next, I'm going to talk about phonemic awareness. This is the ability to hear and identify the individual sounds or phonemes in spoken words, or the knowledge that spoken words can be broken into smaller segments of sounds or phonemes. So the question is, why phonemic awareness? Why is that important? It provides a foundation for the learning of letter, sound, relationships, and phonics. And it will make the process of learning to read faster and easier for your child. So there's a number of skills in phonemic awareness. And we're going to talk about techniques that you can do with your child that are very fun and very easy to help your child to learn these skills. We're going to call them counting, rhyming, beginning and ending sounds, blending, and segmenting. So let's talk about these one at a time. Now, on the website, there is a handout that you can download. And in these handouts, it talks about all of these activities and talks about very specific techniques. I'm not going to have time to talk about every single technique right now, but you can download that, and it has all of them there in the handout. And by the way, that handout is available to you as well, and you're welcome to use that handout with the parents at your schools as well, or any part of it. This might be obviously overwhelming if you're doing a literacy night to try to encompass all of this in one night, but you can take one part of this presentation and do it for a literacy night and use that part of the handout as well. So, as I said, there are some simple and fun activities you can do with your child to help support each of these skills. It doesn't take any extra time during the day. You can do most of these activities anytime and anywhere. For example, while you're helping your child to get dressed, while you're walking the dog, while you're driving the car. So here's the first one, counting. So counting is the ability to clap the number of words in a sentence or syllables or sounds in a word. For example, for syllables, you can count the number of syllables in a word and clap while saying them and then count them again. For example, you can say, words are made up of parts. Here's an example. Moose, moose, one word. Cowboy, cowboy, that's two. And help your child learn to understand that words are made out of syllables. And you can also do that with the parts of the words and the parts of the syllables. For example, me, and then you can break it down. Me has two sounds, e. And you can begin to help your child develop the awareness of the sounds in the words. So breaking down sentences, syllables, and sounds in the words. Rhyming. There's a lot of fun activities you can do to help create rhyming activities. One is thumbs up. For example, you can say, put your thumb up if these two words rhyme. Say ball and call, and look for a thumbs up. And then say ball and soccer, and look for a thumbs down. These are very simple, very fun activities that your child will get engaged in. Another one is rhyming, oops, wrong rhyme. Show your hand and say, this is my sand. Oops, wrong rhyme, this is my hand. And hopefully your child will respond, hand. Beginning and ending sounds. This is the ability to determine if two words begin or end with the same sound. And there's a number of activities you can do with this. You probably are all familiar with I Spy and I Am Thinking. I spy something in this room that begins with the W sound, wall or window. Again, by making it a fun, engaging activity, your child will be engaged and they will want to play with you. And along the way, of course, they're learning phonemic awareness. I'm thinking of something that begins with the sound. And you can help your child. It's something, I'm thinking of something that begins with the T sound, and then it's in my mouth. Teeth. Blending. Blending is the ability to blend adjacent sounds together. Again, you can blend, you can use I spy and I am thinking for this. I spy something in this room that begins with a R sound, then the sound, and then the G sound. What is it? And if necessary, you can put them together for the child, G, and help your child. And again, all developing phonemic awareness. And again, this is something you can do anytime and anywhere. You can be sitting in the car and playing with your child doing these activities. Segmenting. Segmenting is similar to blending, but sort of the opposite. It's the ability to verbally isolate the syllables or sounds of a word. For example, choose a simple three-word sound word and say, here's the word fin. First I heard f, then I heard the I, then I heard n. So breaking apart the word and helping your child to isolate the specific sounds in the word. Then there's moving from phonemic awareness to phonics. Phonemic awareness, of course, is an understanding of the spoken language. Phonics is the relationship between letters and sounds. In phonemic awareness, a child can tell that bat and bird start with the same sound and that bat and rat rhyme. In phonics, a child knows that the sounds of the letters B, A, and T blend together to say bat. So how important is phonics? I know there may be some disagreement about this, but this is one researcher, actually several researchers, who say that phonics may be just one ingredient in a properly balanced reading program, but it's a gateway skill. If you don't crack the alphabetic code, you can't read. So, beginning phonics, something you could begin to do with your child. Letter names, very simple. This is knowing the shapes, the names, the sounds of the letters, progressing from letter names and their shapes to letter sounds. hopefully every child that enters kindergarten knows how to sing the alphabet song. And certainly as a parent, this is something that you can do with your child. There's also memory games. You can write each letter of the alphabet twice on little pieces of paper and play the memory game where they're upside down and you take turns flipping over 2 pieces of paper and identifying the letter. And you can progress from the letter name to the letter sounds, playing that exact same game. The letter sounds, of course, is understanding the relationship between the letters, not just knowing the names of the letters, but the sounds those letters make. And then there's word recognition with decoding, which is what you really think of as phonics. This is recognizing words in print and being able to sound out words and automatically read others. And there's a number of activities that can be done with this. One is blending, helping children learn that letters and the sounds of letters blend together to make words. For example, you can take the word sip and point to the first letter, make s, and then second letter, I, and then p. So we're going to do a little activity here. I think we have time. Let's see what time it is. I think we have, okay, yes, we have plenty of time. Okay, so we're going to do an activity now. On each of the tables, there is a baggie, and inside the baggie, there are some letters. So you can do this in teams. So everybody, and if you're sitting in a seat, you're welcome to go to a table and see if you can find a baggie there. And open it up, and you find paper clipped together of the letters I and P. And so what we're going to do, you're going to take the I and the P, and then what I'd like you to do is to use the other letters and consonant combinations, and I want you to see how many words you can make that end with IP. And let's see who can create the most words that end with IP. So I'm going to give you about 1 minute here and see who can create the most words that end with IP. Thank you for the music. While we're doing this activity, Mr. Soundman, thank you. So we'll have a musical interlude while we're creating words that end with IP. Now, I know that you can create silly and nonsense words, but in fairness to everyone, let's try to make them real words. Who has at least 5 yet? Raise your hand if you have at least 5 yet. Quite a few have 5. Okay, great. We have a lot that are over 5. Has anybody created more than 8 yet? Raise your hand if you, oh, a lot over 8 already. Wow. That's a lot. Anybody over 10? Oh, wow, we have several that are over 10. These are real words, right? Wow. So again, this is something that you can do with your child. It's obviously you can make a game of it by presenting 2 letters, I and P. Your child can have a game of just seeing how many letters you and the child together can create that begin and that end with IP using other consonants. By the way, the set of letters that you're using here is you may know that this is being sponsored by Treasure Bay. This is a set of phonics letters that we make available. They're actually available free of charge with this phonics set of books. All right, so let's see. Has anybody created 12 or more? We got 12 or more? 15 or more? Anybody got 15 or more? We got several of 15 or more. Okay, how many do you have over here? We got 16 over here. How many in the back there? Anybody over 16? All right, 16, we got a winner right here. All right, we'll get you some We Read Phonics books for an excellent job here over 16 words. We'll be checking you later, too, and make sure those are all real words. Okay, so hopefully you had a little bit of fun doing that activity. Just an example of how you can make a phonics activity fun and engaging for your child. But of course, there's a lot of words that can't be sounded out, high frequency and irregular words. These are words that have to be known on sight, but there's a number of activities you can do with your child to work on high frequency and irregular words as well. Flashcards, the memory game, and there's a number of other activities. Again, a lot of these activities are included in the handouts, and those handouts are available for download from the website. So the last section that I'm going to talk about today is transitioning to reading with your child. Now, reading to your child is one of the most important things you can do to help your child become a good reader. But reading with your child is the next step. It's a transitioning from you doing all the reading to inviting your child to join in the reading, and then your child progressing to becoming a successful independent reader. And many of the same principles of reading to your child apply here, but there are additional things that you can do to help your child to take this next step. So the first question is, what is reading together? There's 3 elements to reading together. The first is, you read aloud to your child. Then, your child reads aloud to you, although when you start, your child may not really be reading. And next, you talk about what you are reading. So when can you start reading together with your child? You can start when your child knows letter sounds, is starting to sound out words or guess words from picture clues, or can recite from memory some words or phrases in a favorite book. So why read together? It's an opportunity for your child to practice and for you to provide supportive feedback. It's an enjoyable experience that will help to foster a love of reading in your child. And it will accelerate your child's development of vocabulary, comprehension, and fluency. And will transition from reading, and it will, acts as a transition from reading to your child to independent reading. The bottom line is it will help your child to read sooner and better and help to develop a love of reading. So the question is, what to begin reading together? First, books that you've read so often that your child almost has them memorized. Books with repetitive text or short, simple sentences. And always books that your child is interested in. So today, there's a number of different forms of reading together. I'm going to talk about 2 of them today. The first one is echo reading. In echo reading, you take turns reading the same text. You read a sentence, making your reading as fluent and expressive as possible, and then you ask your child to read the same sentence. Tom hit the ball. And then your child repeats, Tom hit the ball. And you run your finger, this is just a suggestion, running your finger under the text as each of you reads can be helpful as well. And you can continue to do this until your child starts to read with expression and fluency. The next one I'm going to talk about is shared or paired reading. In this technique, you take turns reading aloud. You can agree on signals for switching, and you can start by reading some text and then signal for your child to take over and read. You can watch for sentences, phrases, or words that are easy enough for your child to read or that your child may remember from prior readings. And you can nudge your child to read the next word, sentence, or page as appropriate. And you can allow your child to signal you that they would like you to take over and begin reading again. And you can also begin with books that are specifically designed for paired reading. And I have 3 series that I'd like to suggest. First one is a series called You Read to Me, I'll Read to You by Marianne Hoberman. These books have color-coded text in them that prompt readers to take turns. Now, all of the text is at the same reading level, but they're very fun, they're very humorous. There's, I think, 5 or 6 titles in this series, and it's a fabulous series to read together with your child. Many of you are probably familiar with the Elephant and Piggie series. In this one, they're usually not thought of as read-together books, but each reader can choose to play the part of Elephant or Piggie, and you can take turns reading Elephant and Piggie's parts. Absolutely terrific for reading together. And the last one is the We Both Read series. And these books, they offer pages with alternate reading levels. You read pages that carry the majority of the story or information, and your child reads text at his or her skill level. And some best practices for reading together. So while you're reading, read with expression, make the story come alive, point out rhyming words, stop and discuss new vocabulary words, and talk about how you understand new words, and ask open-ended questions about the story. While your child is reading, encourage your child to mimic the way that you read to gain fluency. Help your child to use context and pictures to figure out unknown words. And if your child may be able to sound out a word or starts to sound one out, help your child provide some encouragement. And if your child struggles with a word for 5 seconds or more, simply provide the word. So now I'd like to do one more activity. On the tables here, you'll see a We Both Read book. It may be about pets, or it may be Habitats of the World. So what I'd like you to do is I'd like you to find a partner, and I'd like you to take turns reading this book together. One of you can play the part of the adult, and one of you can take the part of the child. And I'd like you to just read a few pages together, and we'll take 2 minutes to do this, and I'd like you and you can switch off. Okay, so we can bring the music back up again, Mr. Music Man, and we can take turns reading together. Okay, hopefully you've all had a small chance to experience reading together there. That is the official end of the presentation, but I'd like to open it up for any questions that anybody has. I will say before I take questions that, of course, this is a sponsored presentation. I'm the president of Treasure Bay. Treasure Bay specializes in materials for parent engagement in reading. And we have a booth here, booth 432. You're welcome to come by. We have free samples that are available. You're welcome to take any of the samples that are left on the tables here, including the phonics cards. You're willing to take those as well in books. Does anybody have any questions out there? Yes. The website, the question is, what is the website? The website is www.treasurebaybooks.com. And actually, we have a brand new website, so hopefully you'll enjoy going there. Any other questions? No? Thank you very much for attending late in the day. I really appreciate you coming out and hearing.